Wow.
That's actually why I don't like being in public spaces and especially public transport, because I always say that it's because I overhear people's conversations and I always wonder how people can just mute out what is being spoken around them.
But how have you placed it? Because I can hear things in other places and other realms, and I don't always identify who.
The thing is, for me, the voice speaks in my voice.
Right.
Even my ancestors speak in my voice.
Yes.
It's always straight. That's why I can't say they are saying unless I say it when it's like, I guess I'm like, I have to, but I'm always like, I think, because it comes like my inner voice.
Yes.
So even the hearing, it's, to me, it's like, I guess it's so imbued with me that I've always thought it's a me thing. Which it is, but
it's also an everybody thing. For a lot of people, I mean, I wasn't noticing how much I was doing it. That's all it was. Thought my mind was something else. It's like a new mind. Native mind. Mother mind.
Oh, the mother mind is everything.
Mother mind is everything. What is there Umpungoma metaphors about weaving and the spider?
The spider signifies, it's like an obid, so it's both a message of warning but also a sign of protection. Should you recognize the warning? Even with using it again, I spoke the other time about it's used in incenses and basos that you use for people that are caught in spells, the release basos, because it's able to unweave and weave in a new sort of alchemy. You actually collect dead spiders, you don't kill them, you collect them. Especially the ones you find in the home for that specific reason. So you call back people back to home, to their senses. When like they, for example, Tebuda someone.
I've been collecting these.
I feel you.
But then I'll just let it go like I don't know what it's supposed to do.
No, not when
I just placed one on the shrine.
When I don't know and I'm collecting stuff, I'll keep it to my mom. It's my mom's biggest thing. She's like, you have so many things, so much booty. It's abnormal. Let's throw it, it's trash. And I'm like, no. And she's like, but you've never used it. You've had it for so many years. And I'm like, and if I should one day need it? Simple thing like trash. Because once it's no longer on the tower, it's then trash. Unless it's recycled. So we've always known how to recycle, as indigenous people. Because recycling doesn't mean taking the thing and repurposing it. It could be you taking the very same thing and using it for somebody else, keeping it, because now it's a sacred object. In the family, it's part of the things I will pass down. And when they speak of squama, senyang, those are the sacred objects that I have carried, I have been gifted, and I unlocked the codes and have used the codes. And then when they remain, somebody else has immediate access to them and doesn't have to go through all of the work that I had to. So in 3-4 generations, that may be more precious than gold and diamond to my generation and to my lineage. Something which to a lot of people will be like, why are you keeping this? Even my mom. And that's how I see things.
It just gives a sensation of like we belong with our things.
You really do.
And that whole vibe of like the museums that are holding all these ancient artifacts. And
Oh no, that is witchcraft. That's why we can't give. That's why we can't find liberation. I mean,
because we're not connected to our devices.
Yes, sacred objects, sacred figures that were dug up. They go to where they found the first people's proof of civilization, and they take everything, and those bones, the rituals that were done to intentionally, like for example, even in Mapungube, to keep it in one location where they found the golden rhino. They then went and took that golden rhino. What then happens to the spiritual hygiene of that place if that rhino signified a ward? Because rhinos are one of the few animals that have no predators, natural predators. Everything is always opportunism. They stand strong. The only predators that they have now is us as people. So that rhino, when we've been speaking about Ugedla as a golden rhino, something that comes from the earth. Wow. And then now it's sitting somewhere else. And there's a replica that then remains in the original soil.
Wow.
Having tourists and any and everyone go to these sacred graves where the kings are buried on that mountain, any and everyone, when we understand the whole thing of lenting, fasting, purity, abstaining from sex, to go to sacred places. But now as a tourist attraction, our people are put on display and no rituals are done. And these are all the things that mess up our collective place as African people, is because we haven't gotten to the point where we're just like, we want our shit back. While we still talking about stuff of ours that's in museums, countries like India are taking the United States of America, the whole EU to the World Court for biopiracy over indigenous technologies that they took and they claimed as their own. They've reclaimed so much of their own spiritual truth, and we are still asking. And the fact that all of the world's powers don't find it wrong knowing what the ancestral connection means to African people, to have people's ancestors in their ancestral items. Because it's not about what you believe, it's about what it means to those people. And the world knows that ancestral worship, they actually call it ancestral worship. They say Africans worship their ancestors. Yet when we say give back our sacred items, you're like, no. It means you're saying we don't want you to return back to a place where you truly worship, so you can receive your divine blessings. But it's not all doom and gloom and despair, because our ancestors are back. Look at where we are. State of San Diego, California, in Fallbrook, at a river, with 7 red skirts and 1 new one entering into the petal, and 3 gobelas. I doubt they had this in mind. So spirit is moving and shifting and responding, and it's our responsibility to step out of wanting to just chase cultural visibility, wanting to be recognized and known and validated, as if we were insecure about what our ways represent. What we're working, for me, what I'm working towards is getting towards closeness and access and networks to systemic power and institutional change makers. Because if we can get systemic power and change the institutions, then the economic, the social, the political follows. Because everything ultimately is institutional, structural, and systemic. So structurally, we're already changing it by doing this. Turning beautiful places like the home we're in now into temples. the next is systemically and institutionally, then we're done. Because the cosmology is there in terms of ideology and philosophy. We have the philosophies. People are subscribing to kinetic sciences, to all of that. Even people of other races are acknowledging it, you know. But those three gates, without crossing them and removing the gatekeepers, all of this will be like a fable. We'll keep on running around the same loop, because none of what we're doing is groundbreaking or new. Bobab Credo have spoken at world conferences the world over. Alder Madidoma Some, there's been so many great Sanusis who have done this great work, but yet getting to the systemics and institutional power, at least they cracked open the structural inequity. We were now able to move freely, if you should believe and should be called to. That's great, but we must then maybe crack the next one, which is maybe the institutions, and then maybe the systems will be for another generation. But I feel like all of it can fall now because time is moving so quickly with the advent of digital media. I mean, you can start a revolution just by one post.
I feel like today you're Doctor Strange. And I'm just looking in the mirror.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will put it all on you as though you're the only Doctor Strange. Something just attached to me and keeps on, when I look, it lets go, but then it comes and it's like, but yeah, I'm Doctor Strange today. I can often definitely agree. The portal I opened here with what is happening here was just, that's what I was explaining there. That usually, you know, when we went, you remember the last time we had gone to fetch the Manzawe, and the whole process was they leave on their feet, you know, going in, and then when they leave the river, they don't place their feet on the ground until they return back to that home, because you're fetching. But to me, like something, I don't know, I found myself actually halfway when we were almost done, when I was burning the libaso for everyone, being like, oh, when I was doing the patla, that, oh, this is what you've been possessing me to do, that what we're doing is the reverse. We must return the Manzawe here. We can't fetch them to go home because this is their home. With twasas here, you return the twasas to the river because they flow to the ocean, so they can find their way back from the Middle Passage to go back to the Great Lakes where Tungosite Manzawe live. And like, just looking at everyone, and I'm like, I've never seen such stillness, such quiet trance. They've been in perpetual trance since we've gone here. I'm sure this is the longest that they've ever been in trance, which is not forced or performative. These spirits are actually like traveling. They're going home. We have freed you, Gogo. We have freed them. You know? And now I understand why Twasa is away. Because, you know, we always think about doing big actions. I mean, there's 11 of us who are freed essentially now. In 10 years, how many? From our own individual to if they should continue and be called to also initiate. I mean, think about the 7 degrees of separation that will happen as this continues over the years. Literally, we are going to heal the Middle Passage. Because it's not like in Africa here, they aren't millions and 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 millions. There's a minority of people of color, especially melanated people.
He's asking if you can pass.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so respectful. khona thina masiyembo masiyembo awugqirha kandiyeza masiyembo singaba khona thina masiyembo masiyembo singaba khona thina singaba khona thina singaba khona thina masiyembo masiyembo. So when I started masiyembo, then the response is masiyembo 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 singaba khona thina masiyembo